All right. Thank you so much, Jeff, for the breakdown of where we are. And considering, of course, the continuing borrowing appetite in the country. On my immediate right, to make sense of that, is Ben Kinuthia, a lawyer and political analyst, joins us every Monday. At the center is Nathaniel Mongare, National Chair of the Youth League, Amani National Congress of Musalia Mudavadi, of course, who has been critical of the borrowing spree in the country. And on my far right is Michael Owano, lawyer and political analyst. Two gentlemen, thank you so much for making time. Let's make sense of this, Ben. I'll start with you. It all points out to, all these happenings point out to a lack of confidence in the government at the moment, because it has the pinching back effect we have seen witness ever since Saturday when the 16% VAT came into effect. How do we navigate ourselves around this mess at the moment? Because it appears that even though this is going to be continuing and the president, of course, is passive on the matter, it's not likely going to raise the standard of what IMF wants of the billions it intends to secure from the 16% VAT on petroleum products. Why?
Okay, good morning, viewers, and good morning, Ayub. I think we've started on the wrong footing. And what I mean by we've started on the wrong footing is we need to ask ourselves, why are we borrowing? Do we really need these projects? And if we need them, must they be done now? So that as a country we decide, every home has a budget. And I have not seen heads of houses leaving their homes to go and borrow to do those things that the family can wait for until when they are ready for them. So I think what needs to happen as a nation, we need to decide, no, these things are good, but at this point in time as a country, we are not ready for these things. Let us suspend them for some time until the nation is ready. And it's possible because there are governments, like now if you look at the government of Malaysia. Yeah. Malaysia, the president has said no. He has said, in fact, if I quote him, he has said that the former president was foolish and he was borrowing money foolishly. So what he has done, he has said, we are ready to pay penalties. We are going to pay penalties for cancelling these contracts. He had contracts worth about 23 billion US dollars. That's about 2.3 trillion Kenya shillings. But the Malaysian president has looked at it and said, if we take this, we shall be a nation indebted and we shall never be able to pay these loans. So what he has done, he has cancelled the contracts. So I don't think it's too late for Kenya to decide, you know what, this is a huge mistake. It's not working for us. It's not the right thing. And we cancel those contracts. Ben,
then also to make sense, because Malaysia just elected a new president in the name of Mahathir Mohamad. And the former Prime Minister Najib Razak has put the country in mess, according to investigations, and he's facing a court case for that and the billions he siphoned in from the state coffers. It took a whole sense of scenario, isn't it, putting it in our context, because we need that particular salvage point, and it appears not coming from the institutions concerned to just clear the air around that. Is Parliament ready to, we are seeing the chest thumping and the sort of the political fury as a result of 16% VAT coming into place. We've seen opposition members of Parliament saying or rejecting the proposal by Henry Rotich. But how well does Parliament need to style up? Because it has been at the center of a setback to the Kenyan people. Just a case in point is the way it shut down the sugar report and it came back. It has been cycling in a perpetual sense of style since 2013, the 16% VAT. Why not get the permanent solution going forward then?
Parliament, first and foremost, is not one of the institutions we should be discussing today, because we lost confidence in them the day we voted for them. We woke up at 4 a.m., queued, we voted for these people. 1 year down the line, if you ask them all they've done for you, they tell you it's too early. And when we were voting at 4 a.m., it was not too early. The allegations of parliamentarians being given as little as 10,000 shillings to shoot down a sugar report. So, and even I can tell you on this debt issue, I think if the Chinese had come and seen Parliament properly, not with 10,000 shillings, but with something slightly more, they would have rubber stamped and said that this debt is okay. In fact, it should not be 16, it should be 32% on fuel. So we cannot trust our Parliament. I do not think anybody can wake up in this nation and say that our Parliament is a Parliament that we can trust. They have proven, I'm telling you, if farmers, look, the amount of money that Mumia Sugar Company needs to pay these people is 700 million. That's all. And we have one person who is alleged to have supplied maize worth 744 million, and she was paid by the National Cereals and Produce Board. So all I'm trying to tell you is this, that one person can be paid 744 for supplying air in the name of maize because it was air. That maize was not tangible, it was not there, it cannot be seen. And then Mumias Sugar, their whole sugar company, needs only 700 million to pay all its debts. And it's out of debt completely to pay the farmers what they owe.
Is that forthcoming?
So if it was forthcoming, they would have been paid by now. So when we discuss parliament and debt, parliament is not interested. They're just making politics out of it. Now that they are happy, there's something to politic about, they're making noise about it. If they were sincere, what they should have done is not to postpone the 16% because they have postponed it twice. What they needed to do is to cancel that 16%.
And through the amendment, they will postpone it to 2020, then we'll be electioneering year, and then to 2022, possibly going forward, and it's an endless cycle. Mongari, at the center, I'll come to your party leader, Musalia Mudavadi, has faulted the government and has been critical of the measures taken by the government in terms of setting the economic policy of the country. He said that the fact that the 16% VAT by the National Treasury to target all petroleum products was because it was a low-lying fruit, and that the government's borrowing spree is worrying because of the skyrocketing debt. Chinese alone, by the time they're going to be bankrolling the second phase of SGI, will owe us around 1 trillion Kenya shillings to pay back to them. How well do we navigate ourselves around the mess at the moment? Because it is affecting the consumer who has to pay double price for his fare, basic commodities, ugali, cooking gas, and others, because at the moment that's unaffordable to the basic monanchi, to the common monanchi.
Okay, thank you for having me, Abdi. The situation, the discussion that we are having this morning is a weighty discussion. It touches on the future and the present situation in Kenya. It also touches the heart of the society, because when you talk about the public debt and public borrowing, we are talking about the burden of taxation. And if you look at the constitution keenly, the burden of taxation should be shared equally between the present and the future generations. And when you're talking about the present and the future generation, a wise man once said that we have not inherited this country from our forebearers. We have borrowed this country from our grandchildren and future children. So this morning, my party leader, as you've rightly put it, has raised the pertinent issue about the public borrowing and the appetite of Jubilee government borrowing without a plan. Borrowing is not bad, but we need to borrow sustainably. The question we should be asking is, our public borrowing sustainable? Are we able to repay this debt? Is this borrowing putting pressure on the common mwananchi? And my party leader rightly put it so when he was commenting on this issue, that this is taxing poverty. And I want to agree with him, because the taxation that is in this country is going to affect not only the present, even the future. And if you look at the finance system that we are supposed to adopt as a country, is a financial system that should be able to be open, that's number one, accountable to the people, and then number three, it should have a critical element of public participation. And when we're talking about public participation in the public debt, is not just about the shallow public participation. We are talking about a higher level of public participation through the institution, and also we are talking about the quality of public participation should be a little bit higher, so that when we are having a conversation on public debt and borrowing, it is a conversation that brings along all the people in Kenya, especially the common mwananchi.
I'll come to you on my far end, Michael Awano. Then we look at it from this perspective. Borrowing is an integral part of economic development, of course, but there needs to be sustainability. However, there needs to be a clear time frame with which you have to pay, of course, the money you borrowed, and the interest rates need to be subject to negotiations. But this has been the flashpoint of public and political fury. However, to come up with taxpayer-friendly economic policies in this country, because at the moment what we have is job cuts and economic growth isn't impressive in the country, unemployment is down, and this threatens our infant industries locally, considering manufacturing is part of President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda. Then how does the government need to spend in one, active labor market, two, to retain those who have lost their jobs? Because at the moment there is likelihood of inflation in the country, and that is going to be one to the detriment of the taxpayer who pays taxes to the same government.
First of all, I will say this, that if we've been looking in the recent years, we find that people have been losing their jobs, especially in the banking sector and in several other financial sectors. People have been losing their jobs because even though these business entities are making profits, like I'll give the example of KCB Bank and all these other banks, they are making profits, yes, but when they do their feasibility study, they seem to realize that they will not be able to maintain this budget in the next coming years. They will not be able to make this profit if they retain a particular number of employees. And so coming down to the government spending, we need, I think, every decision that should be made by the government should be for the good of the common mwananchi. In that, if you're asking ourselves that we want to spend this much, what we should ask ourselves, what do Kenyans stand to benefit in this? Is it going to create jobs for them? Yes, we started doing SGR, and we say that Kenyans are going to get jobs from this. But SGR is something that will not be built forever. After a few years, they'll be done. And then, yes, there will be fewer jobs, but the number of jobs that SGR will create and all other projects will create, it is very, very insignificant comparing to the rate of unemployment in this country. So I will say this, Abdi, that it is not about how the government spends. It's about the decision that the government makes. And also, just to touch in on this borrowing and the government's budget, we need to realize that even though we are borrowing, I will agree with my learned friend that do we really need these projects? And if we need them, do we need them now? Because we need to plan. Right now, when Uhuru Kenyatta went to the United States, he was awarded the financing of the highway all the way from Mombasa to Nairobi. That is a whopping 477 kilometers of road. And we should ask ourselves, this year, last year we just launched SGR. It's working well. Is it really time for us to start building that particular highway right now?
When the SGR is in place.
When the SGR is in place. So I think at some point we need to take a step back, ask ourselves that, do we really need these things? And if we need them, do we need them now? I think as a government and as a people, we ought to ask ourselves and bring out the difference between what we need and what we want.